This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takas and myself, Narain Arul Raja.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
Hello and welcome to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast. I'm your host, Lester D. Alwis. This podcast is here to help dental professionals build strong, profitable practices with less stress and less reliance on insurance. Before we begin, a quick word from our sponsors. Eco Marketing is offering a complimentary marketing strategy meeting where their experts will help practice, where the experts help practices attract high quality patients and grow through strong online visibility. So if you're looking for do a health checkup on your online visibility, you can book a session at lessinsurancedependence.com/marketing-strategy-meeting. If you're looking for mentorship or guidance on building a thriving insurance independent practice, you can also schedule a complimentary coaching strategy meeting with Gary Takas at thrivingdentist.com/CSM. Now, today, I'm excited to welcome Kristine Haynes. Kristine works closely with dental practices to strengthen systems, leadership, and operational clarity so owners can grow confidently without relying on volume or insurance pressure. So, in today's episode, Operational Clarity that Reduces Insurance Pressure is the title, and we will explore how strong systems help practices stay lean, profitable, and in control. Kristine, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to having you here.
Hi, Lester. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Exactly. So let's start at the foundation. What systems or process gaps do you see most often holding practices back from healthy growth?
So for me, where I see it, it really is on the insurance part of it. If they do take insurance, just because of the fact of when it does come to the team members, usually they're not really trained that well. So there's a lot of time that's wasted in having things like that. So I will mostly see it on that end if they do take insurances. If they don't, or all around, what I do notice is new technology that's been introduced into the practice, but they're not really fully utilizing it to its potential. So for a couple of examples, you'll have a dental practice, like my dental practice, it has an iTero scanner. And so prior to any cleanings, they will do the scan on your teeth and then they leave it right there in front of you. And so some dental practices are not doing that. And I know for me, when I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it, I understand why they're doing it. But other patients that are not dental trained like me, they don't, right? So then you're able to look at it and see, well, you know what? Maybe I do want to try something like Invisalign because they're noticing their teeth. They're noticing this, they're noticing that. And so you're not able to really utilize that iTero scanner and the fact that you're doing Invisalign, right? So that can, stall you from that healthy growth that you could have in drawing up more patients with Invisalign and giving them that service. Another example that I can give you is we call it dental monitoring in orthodontics. And that enables the patients to be able to reduce the amount of times that they have to come into the office. And I have a client who has fully utilized it and it has cut down, like I said, the amount of patients coming in, but that frees up chair time. That frees up chair time to be able to do production. And with him not taking insurance, it gives him really complete autonomy of how he would like to be able to treat the patients and spending quality time. So that's really where I see that, they're kind of holding themselves back by their services out there that don't really fully utilize to help the practice grow. And another one is that, and this is more on the team, which you don't have some people that are cross-trained. So you'll have a treatment coordinator, let's say they're out, and no one's really cross-trained to do what they're doing. So the question is, what happens to your new patients what
Mm.
happens to being able to kind of keep up you getting to your goals. And so that's something that I do tell my clients is in the really important procedures like that, or I should say staff members with that are connected to production, do you have somebody that's cross-trained? Because if you don't, and let's say they're out for 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks without new patients, or you're hurting the new patient process.
Yeah, that's a great start for this episode. Now, you work closely with teams and leadership. What breaks down internally when systems are not clearly defined, even in successful insurance life practices?
So that's a good question because the answer to that is going to be communication and trust. And when
Mm-hmm.
your communication and your trust break down, then you start to see cracks within your culture. And then in turn, it gets to resentment. And then that's where the beginning of the disengagement for the team members start. And so when I do some of my assessments, one of them I call it the clarity diagnostic. The tension that's that I see most in the teams, it is revealed in the poor systems, right? But then there's no clarity around the role, but they also don't feel like they have an outlet to be able to speak to someone about those frustrations. Or sometimes you'll have the office manager, they'll think that the office manager is playing favorites, and then they don't feel comfortable going to the doctor and they don't feel comfortable going to the office manager. And so there will be that miscommunication. And then in turn, team members will start to see their colleagues in ways that really are not accurate. And so people might be encapsulated in a way that's not really true to them. And then when all that tension starts, the doctor doesn't know what to do with it, or they don't want to get involved because they just want to focus on seeing their clients, right?
Yeah. Mm.
But really, really, it's the communication and the trust, and a lot of those tend to the turnover that we tend to see. And interestingly enough, there's a DNAB study, excuse me, and
Mm-hmm.
that study came out to say that team members, especially dental assistants, they want to stay in their practice. They want to, but they also feel like they're not being respected or there's not
Mm.
a really work-life balance. So open communication and trust really are very much important within a practice, regardless of whether you take insurance or not.
Exactly. I mean, communication goes a long way into the success of a
Absolutely.
practice. Now, many practices feel busy but not in control or feel stuck. From an operational standpoint, what usually creates that disconnect?
So I would really say that it comes from reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's reactive, putting out fires, and no real clear systems that are
Mm.
there. And so sometimes what can happen is we just want to put a band-aid over it and not really get down into the nitty-gritty of it and really
Mm-hmm.
what's there. So I do tend up seeing that there are how would I put it? The decision making process would be more emotional than it ends up being logical at times. And the doctors, they're not really having clear goals or really of what they're wanting to do or where they want the practice to be able to go. And so it just kind of ends up being a hamster wheel. And once again, like I said, it just lends to a lot of frustration with inside the office. And then it turns to end up being high turnover. And also too, I try to encourage my doctors and the teams that when they do have their office meetings, instead of it being
Mm-hmm.
tactical, let it be strategic and let people have that open communication there so they can feel like they can. So if they are feeling busy and they're feeling stuck, they can really talk up and they can really say, this is how we feel. We feel like we're setting out fires. We feel like we're stuck. We feel like we're not being strategic. And then that
Mm.
opens up the door for everybody to refocus and to really see what it is. So, sometimes being busy can feel productive, but without that structure, what it hides is it hides the inefficiencies and also the burnout that can come along with it.
Exactly. And speaking about this episode, it's all about operational clarity. Now, what does
Correct.
operational clarity actually mean day to day in a practice that wants to stay lean, profitable, and not volume dependent?
So it's one word and it's peace. When you have clarity and you know, even if the day is hard, or
Mm,
you'll have a day that's hard, there's still a level of peace that you can end up having. And so the peace really just means that you've positioned your practice, and I say this all the time, positioning your practice from a place of strength and not weakness. And that's really going to come when the doctors feel like they can trust their team members if they really properly delegated the operations and the structure and all of it. And they don't feel like they're micromanaging, because no one wants to
mm,
micromanage. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good on both ends of the spectrum, right? But then they feel like they can actually start to do what they went to school for, which was
yeah.
dentistry. So I'll give you a brief example for myself. When
Mm-hmm.
I was in
Yeah.
clinical, I was in a very high volume practice. We did not take insurance, and it was high profile. So we did
Mm-hmm.
have, a lot that was going on within that practice.
Yeah.
And I was new inside. I wasn't new to being a clinical assistant, but I was just new to that practice. So I was trying to learn the operations and the systems and how they flow, right? Because when you run at
Yeah.
that level that they did, systems and operations was
Mm.
very ran well. So long story short, placed braces on a young gentleman, but it was right after lunchtime. And the assistant that was helping me and to train me, she set up my tray. Well, I put on metal braces instead of clear, and it
Oh.
was supposed to be clear. So what we were able to do afterwards, it was great because the doctor wasn't mad. But what we were able to do is we were able to go back step by step to find out where the breakdown was. And we
Mm.
literally figured it out within 5-10 minutes. And it was the lab. Unfortunately, the lab sent it out to be metal and not clear. But then what happened, we all were able to take our accountability. The lab apologized, right? When it got sent out, they
Mm.
apologized. The assistant that was training me apologized. I took my accountability. I saw and I learned a lesson from it. But like I said, it literally was 5 to 10 minutes. We addressed it and then we moved on. And the doctor was fine with it and he trusted us and he knew. So it did not become a big deal. And that's where that peace comes from and that clarity.
Exactly. It's all about peace. I mean,
Yes.
uh, there's nothing more than that. So now, before a practice expands as an associate or plans for a transition, what internal systems must be solid regardless of insurance participation?
So the first thing that I do when I talk to my clients is I
Mm-hmm.
will ask them a question and I say, the way that your practice is now, would you be an associate? Do you want to work as an associate, or would you want to buy your practice the way it
Mm.
operates now? And so that helps me to be able to prepare them for that clarity and for us to make any changes or adjustments. So in giving the feedback, I'll let them and I'll tell them, is your schedule predictable? Is it set for
Mm-hmm.
that capacity for growth? Is there a consistent production? Are you scheduling based upon production? What are
Yeah.
your collection patterns? Is your leadership defined? Is there authority or a level of accountability? And then we always want to make sure there are documented workflows, your SOPs that do not depend on memory. You don't want to have team members that have everything in their mind and it's not
Mm.
written down, right? Because that hurts the operations. And
Yeah.
then also your KPIs and a dashboard. So even if you're not able to necessarily invest in some companies that are able to give you the dashboard, what's nice is now there are practice management companies that you can enter the dashboard yourself and it's already built in, like
Mm.
Oryx. So really get those type of questions answered for you to have that clarity so we can work on the operations and really where the holes are. And if you don't have really some of those things in place, what ends up happening is that it just multiplies the stress. And we want to reduce friction for any
Yeah.
type of growth. You're going to have it no matter what. Any part
Mm.
of growth or scaling, there's growing pains. But
Mm.
what can we do to reduce it for the doctor and the staff and really get the staff to buy in to support that doctor
Yeah.
whatever that long-term goal is for the growth. So, like we said, planning the transition or even adding on an associate.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if a practice already does not rely heavily on insurance, where should leadership focus to protect culture, margins, and sustainability? And what operational steps should practices focus on first this year?
Yeah. So, my suggestion is, and always love to say this, take a step outside of your office. Take the
Mm,
emotional step and give yourself the objectional view. And so that's going to be able to help you see any type of hurdles or setbacks that you may have that need to be addressed. And I very much
hmm.
like to tell the leadership team, focus on the alignment, make sure that you have the right team members. Once you do, then develop your team. And then from there, create some level of accountability. Right now, with the high turnover that some practices have, there's a misalignment. So
Mm,
sometimes it's a quick fix and you're bringing on someone like that might be in school. Well, they're not going to be with you long term. And that's going to
yeah.
hurt. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt your operations because
Mm,
once they leave, then you have to spend a lot more time. So really make sure that you have the right team members in place now. It's the beginning of the year. Take that time, do it, and teach your team the business side of dentistry. You don't have to
mm,
teach them the ins and outs. For example, if you have a TC, if you're in an ortho practice and you have a TC, teaching them how to give multiple options to the patients. For instance, if the patient wants to pay up front, that's great. But teach your team member the benefit in that is we don't have to keep paying credit card processing fees. Now, that
yeah.
may
Mm,
seem something small.
mm,
However, you're teaching them the business side. And so then they can start thinking what's best for the business, but also, too, what is best for the patient and being able to give the patient multiple options and what they can do. And another one I strongly believe in is creating a structure and a business that as you as the business owner or the leadership team, you can step back at times and nothing's really going to fall apart. Right? Your team
yeah.
can operate when you're outside of the office and they know what you're thinking. They can always be 10 steps ahead of you. So, those are some
Mm,
things that I really say teach them now before things get really, really busy. Because once the summertime hits, it's going to get busy. And really, to get someone fully trained, it takes a good 2, 3 months for the
yeah.
implementation of it. Because, like I said, practices can get busy and, you'll have little setbacks and hurdles for things like that. So, those are suggestions that I really like to give. Focus on your team and really see where the breakdowns are and the flow and your workflow, and then work with your team on efficiency and making sure that everything as a whole combined together works endlessly and flows.
Exactly. I mean, the right champions will help you get there where you want to go, your
Correct.
destination.
Correct.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
now, last but not least, what is one thing practice owners assume they are doing well, but often are not doing well?
Oh, that's that is a really good question. They think they know what their team members want or feel,
Mm-hmm.
or they think they
Mm,
may understand their team members' experiences. And so when they think that they know that, there's a lot of misunderstandings that can happen and can go on. Um, for instance, I had a client and she was going to terminate a new hire. And
mm,
with that new hire, um, she had excellent work ethic. She just wasn't, clicking and really picking a lot of things within the practice up. And once we did the assessment, it came to find out that her previous employer, it was a toxic work environment. And so, like, her confidence was really low and she had a lot of fear. And when I say toxic, she was telling me a story where her previous boss, while she was pregnant, he was throwing instruments. And so it
okay.
really put yeah, seriously. And this does happen to
Right.
team members. And it's a
Mm,
lot, it's also an unspoken thing, but it does
mm,
happen. And when I
mm-hmm.
relayed that to the doctor, she was mortified because it never crossed her mind. It never crossed her mind that a team member would come from an environment like that. And so then her heart just sunk because then she realized I was potentially going to let this person go because I'm thinking that she's underperforming, but really what it was is it was just fear. And then that gave her the opportunity to really build up and work with her and bring her confidence back up. So I just say sometimes before you make a decision or you feel something, really just communicate with your team members because you'll really be surprised what they're coming in with or what they're carrying that you as a doctor would never cross your mind. Team member doesn't think about being in dental school. They've never been in dental school, right? They don't know what they
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
right? They don't know what it's like to be in anatomy and
exactly.
all of that. But it's also the other side.
Exactly. I mean, some great advice, some great nuggets in this episode. So, Christine, if anyone wants to get in touch with you or get some advice, or even have a chat with you about their practice, what is the best way that they can reach out to you?
Oh, yeah. So they can email me at Kristine, Kristin, at kHpromanagement.com. So they can email me that way. And we always try to respond to anyone within 24 hours. And we love to talk to anyone, even if it's, not bringing you on as a client. I just love to impart help, knowledge, anything that would benefit somebody or anyone. And my website is kHpromanagement.com.
Amazing, amazing. So if anyone you're listening, if you're listening to this episode and if you want to basically get more advice, you can also go to our website and go to the show notes of this episode and click on the link to Christine's website, and you can reach out to her from that. Now, Christine, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing so much practical insight on systems, leadership, and clarity.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and appreciate everything that you guys do.
So, the key takeaway of this episode is practices that understand their operations and lead with clear systems gain control. That control makes it easier to protect margins, support the team, and reduce insurance pressure over time. So, this podcast is about taking action. And first of all, if you're looking to do a health checkup on your marketing, on your online visibility, schedule a complimentary marketing strategy meeting with Equa Marketing at lessinsurance.com/marketing strategy meeting. Now, secondly, if you're looking for mentorship and you're looking to get advice, book a complimentary coaching strategy meeting with Carrie Takas at thrivingdentist.com/CSM. Now, all these resources, all these advice, these nuggets that were shared on this episode is all here for you to take action. And these resources can help you build a stronger and more independent practice. Now, thank you for listening in. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Less Insurance Dependence podcast.